am so proud to see you guys here. I'm going to tell you a story. Here's the story. I am the Dean of Admissions at the medical school that I attended. As far as I can tell, this is about the highest honor a person can have. So I'm going to give you the path to get here so that one day, one of you will get to stand up here and be the Dean of Admissions and give this talk. Maybe in 31 years, actually, it's almost been that long for me. So here's how it started. My folks are from Michoacan. Carrillo, Michoacan is a very famous place. It's a historic place, but it's a place that I've never known anyone who I've ever heard of before in my entire life, except for my relatives. So my folks are from the Central Valley, the San Joaquin Valley. My mother was lucky enough, I'm so thankful, to actually be born in Merced, California, MCMC at the county hospital. And the end of the, remember that, it has an important part to play at the end of the story. So my folks did not finish. My mother came here, actually, although she was born in Merced, she was raised in Carrillo and didn't come here until she was 8 years old. And that put her behind in a lot of things. And as you saw from Dr. Ford's presentation this morning, if you cannot read and write and do math, by the time you're 8 years old, the odds that you're going to go to medical school are very small. In fact, the odds that you'll even go to high school in the 40s was very small. So she did not. Flash forward, I am born. I was a lovely child. To see it, but I'm told I was very attractive. Now, after that, my dad was in the military, so we went to Vietnam. We traveled around a lot, as you do in the military. And when we returned to the Central Valley, we settled in a town called Traver. Traver, California, is in the Greater Goshen area. If you've never been to the Greater Goshen area, it's because it's very hard to identify where the lesser and the greater areas overlap. But Traver is a town of less than 300 people, even to this day. It's an unincorporated place. So that by the time so I had to bus into Kingsburg, which is the next biggest town that had a high school, and I went to high school there. So I went to high school in Kingsburg, and this is where the crucial element occurs. I was a serving child. I don't think I was that rewarding in high school. I was like that girl in the Breakfast Club that played with her dandruff. It was probably not the most rewarding. I was always moody. I was distressed. I didn't know why. But then a funny thing happened. When I was a senior, as I approached the time that you would normally be applying to college, well, I didn't have any example of that, but a guy was driving around in a Volvo. A guy who was going to play a very important part in this story. His name is Roberto Rubalcaba. Very important. He drives around in his little Volvo all around the San Joaquin Valley to every little place and every little high school that no one's ever heard the name of before. So he went to Pumpkin Center, he went to Selma, he went to Fowler, he went all over the place. And I don't know what possessed this guy, because he wasn't from there. But every high school that he went to, he left applications to go to college. How did he even know that I'm used to farm work, and I know that a certain percentage of the things that you put in the ground, if you water them, they'll come up. But he must have had that same view about these applications that he was leaving everywhere. He told me later that he went to speak to the high school counselor at my high school, because I did not meet him then. The only thing that happened to me was I received the application to UC Santa Cruz. That's the banana slug continue. So he, as a single individual, drove around the dusty, it was dusty back then too, drove around the valley to all of these little schools, leaving off applications for kids, and he went and told the guidance counselor, don't you have any Chicanitos that want to go to medical school? Go to college. And no, our Mexicans don't want to go to medical school. They don't want to go to college. None of them ever go to school. He said, are you sure? He said, oh, yeah. We know our Mexicans. It wasn't their fault. That's kind of how they talked. So he said, well, just in case. And so he left it. By accident, it fell into the hands of a woman that was one of my teachers. And so the next day I come in surly to high school, and she said to me, look at this guy came around and he left this off for you. And I said, what's that? Application to college. Oh, I don't need that, I told her. I am this close to getting a union job at the cannery. She said, well, you might want to think about it. Okay, I'll think about it. I took it home, I looked at it. It looked complicated. I stuck it under the drawer where you keep the knives and forks in the kitchen. I left it there for a while. It got kind of raggedy. And then a couple of weeks later, she said, what happened to that application? I said, oh, I don't know about that. She goes, just fill it out. What could it hurt? Okay, so I got out a pencil and filled it out. And I sent it off, and I didn't think about it again until I got this big package in the mail, and it said, congratulations, you've been accepted. Holy cow. I was so stunned. So off I went to Santa Cruz, and there I found an amazing world. There was trees. I had never been to an indoor theater before I went to college. I had never gone to a movie in an indoor theater. You're going, what kind of theaters? We actually had theaters where you go in a car and you pull. Anyway, I had never actually used a crosswalk before. I had only ridden in an elevator once when I was 16 at the time that I went to UC Santa Cruz. So I got there and I'm a bumpkin. Luckily there were lots of us bumpkins because all of those little letters, and all those little applications that he left all over the valley resulted in all of us little people being there at the same time. Luckily there were some people from LA and they were cool. They knew how everything worked. They knew how to thankful. We had some guys from San Cipuedes and San Jose. We had some people from. We had some people who knew their stuff. We learned how to. We learned from them because they knew how to work stuff. The elevator. We would like go. So that was the beginning. So then, when I was getting closer to finishing at Santa Cruz, I didn't know what to do next. So I thought, well, what do I do next? Oh, I didn't tell you about the crucial element. Oh, so here's the element, the serious element. Every one of us faces a moment in our lives where it could go terribly wrong. Here's where mine was. In the Central Valley, the highest honor that you can get there for your family is to get a union job, because that means you have benefits and you get paid like 3 times more than the package and way more than the field. And you don't have to travel around, you can stay in one town. And so everybody puts their name in for a lottery. There's a Del Monte peach canning factory in Kingsburg. And we would all put our name in every year, and none of us ever won the lottery. So one year, right when I was a senior, in fact, I won the lottery to work at the cannery. Everybody came around to look at me. Wow. Everybody was so happy because it was like the whole family would have a guaranteed income from at least one member every year. And so I was honored. Everybody come in, paid homage to me. It was great, even though all I did was win the lottery like you guys winning the Princeton Review. And so I served. I went to the cannery. I worked in the package shed, so I did all my usual stuff, but then the cannery started and I got a night job. I was doing the midnight to 9. And I was working on the slices belt. And so if you don't know how you can peaches, it works like this. People working very, very hard pick the peaches off of the trees. This is the worst job because the peach fuzz gets under your collar and it's 110 degrees and they don't pay you very much. But you put them into a big bin and then they go off to either be packed or canned. At the cannery, the first thing that happens is they go into a big vat of lye that peels the fuzzy part off, and then they bounce onto a belt, and then they're sliced in half, and the most perfect halves are made into halves. So when you go to the store to buy canned peaches, always buy halves, because those are the best peaches with the fewest blemishes, and those women who work on that belt are the highest order of magnitude in the cannery hierarchy. Those are the people with seniority. They got the good job. They're usually old, but they're good. And they're culling peaches. So what happens is they come down the belt and there's a blemish on the half. They throw it to another belt and it goes to a place where they're chopped up into slices. And the slices are a big mess of slices, and the women on those belts are culling the bad pieces out so that only the perfect slices make it into the can. I am the queen of the slices. I will never do a job better, ever, than I was at culling selling slices. I mean, I'm going to tell you this honestly. You know what? You know humility here. I was a phenomenon. They put me on, and I was real prepared because I was good. I was already good from the packing shed. So when I got to the cannery, I would get there. I could do it left-handed, right-handed. And then people go, well, look at that girl. She can really sling some slices. And then I bet we can take one woman off that belt with just that girl. And so they took one person off. Didn't slow me down. I bet we can take another person off. And then somebody, you know how those goofy guys are that are always supervising you? I bet we can take everybody off, just have that one girl do it. And so it was like a phenomenon. And so they said, but she must be throwing bad. No, they checked all the ones I threw off. And they said, yeah, those were all bad. The ones with the, whoa, they called the people from Sacramento and said, you gotta come see this girl. This is so I got a lot of love. I mean, people, it was like, I'd walk in, the place would clear. It was great. So I love that job. And the key here, here's the downfall part. The key to getting the union job. I'm not in the union yet. I just got the lottery to get the job. In order to get a union job, you had to stay till the last day of the cannery. The season ends, which is unpredictable. We don't know how many beaches are going to be from one year to the next. Now school starts in September. So here's the deal. If I can just work to the last day before I have to go back to Santa Cruz, I will have both things, a college education and a union job. You can tell what's going to happen here, don't you? No, the beaches just kept rolling in. The days went by, and as days got closer and closer, it was the last day to decide to go back to school or stay and get the union job. What do you think all of my family told me to do? Take the union job. Go for the sure thing. So it took a lot out of me, and I was completely sure for that whole year that I had made the wrong decision. So I went back to school disheartened. I felt like a failure. The thing that I was, and I'm going to tell you right now, all of you have something that you're really, really good at, I'll bet. And it might be, who knows what it is. But just because you're really, really good at something, that might not be your destiny. It's possible. Although I have to say, there are days I wake up and wish I was still there. I won't tell you which days those are. But I went back to school disheartened, and I went back to my advisor, the guy that recruited me to go to college, and I said, Roberto, what do I do now? I lost my union opportunity. I'm already a senior now. What do I do? And he said, the words that I will never forget, he said, take the GRE. Take the LSAT, take the MCAT. I went, Roberto, that doesn't make any sense. What am I going to do with all that? He goes, listen, people have died so that you can have the opportunity to be here. People have worked. People have never made it out of the valley. I don't care what you do, but you're going to amount to something. I go, this is our next mistake. With serious mentors like that, when they're giving you the secret of life, you don't say, but what if I'm not happy as a doctor? He responded, did I ask you anything about happy? I said, you're going to amount to something. You think I drove around in that Volvo just to bring you here so that you could just whine about what you didn't get? Oh, that's not it. That's not working for me. So I go, oh, sorry, Lord, you're right. And I could tell he was kind of getting a little bit bent. So weirdly enough, that was what amounted to career counseling in those days. So weirdly, I did take the GRE. I did take the LSAT, but I couldn't take the MCAT because I hadn't taken any of those pesky science courses. So I said, no problems. I was dating a guy at that time who had gone to law school at Harvard, and he told me that law school, that's good. He was from El Paso. Oh, that guy was a character. That's a story for another day. So I had the GRE in my hand. I had the LSAT. My LSAT score came back, and my boyfriend Carlos pulled it out. He was happening visiting Santa Cruz that day. He pulled it out of the mailbox. He ran off with. He was a mess. He opens up my LSAT scores and he looks at it and he goes, "Whoa, that's pretty good." I said, "What am I getting?" "Oh yeah, that's pretty good." So I applied to law school, and I actually got accepted to his alma mater. And so I was all ready to go to law school. I didn't know anything about law, but oh well. It sounded like a good job to me. I'd never been to Boston, but oh well. Then I went to a party. It was an amazing party. I remember it like it was yesterday because we had to drive over the hill to go to. I realized something about law, that I realized there was just something that it wasn't me. Even though they were doing good work, they were all civil rights lawyers, they were doing the work that I would want to do. There was just something about, it just wasn't me. So then I got in the car, so Carlos was driving home in the MG, driving my home. And I remember somewhere we're driving back to Santa Cruz, and I said, I don't think I can go to law school. He goes, that's okay, LSAT is good for 8 years. He's very pragmatic. So I said, well, no, but then that only leaves me one thing. Not medical school. He goes, what, you too dumb? I go, this is where men come in handy. They're really not helpful. But the one thing they can do to motivate a woman is say something like that. So I went back to Santa Cruz, and I took all my science courses in 1 year, my senior year, and then I graduated with a psych major because I could not have ever, I had to graduate 1 year. So I took all my upper division psych courses, I took all the pre-med courses that I needed for the MCAT. I drove over the Highway 17 to the Kaplan course every day with my friend, well, with the, we could call her the jump, her name was Salvador, and with, well, anyway, never mind that. So what happened was I took the MCAT, and I applied. And I'm happy to say that I didn't think anybody would take me. I really didn't. I had been doing my MPH in the meantime, and Mark Diaz, that you see in the back there, was one of my advisors. He was already ahead of me in training. He knew the lay of the land. You'd always ask him, what's going to happen? Just tell you what to do. I said, well, Mark, I'm doing my MPH in health policy. And he goes, no, you're doing your MPH in getting into medical school. Oh, that really clarified that for me. And so I go, where do I apply? And so just like you guys are asking me questions today, I ask the same questions to people even back then. I didn't know where to apply. What do I write in this person? Said, no one's going to think my story's any good. Your story is good. Now, I sent off my little application, and here I am, a person who went to a school who at that point, UC Santa Cruz had, you're going to go, what was your GPA? I'm happy to tell you what my GPA was. Nothing. I had no GPA. We were pass, not pass fail, pass, no record. Those are the good old days. So I had nothing. I had a GPA. I had no GPA. I had a little wrist. I had a little like big. Oh, Raquel was such a one. Yeah, fine. I had evaluations with it. No, it was useless. So all I had was the MCAT. I figured no one's going to interview me, and then people interview me. So people think if you think that we're not going to interview, you're going to get in. You do things. You meet us halfway. Somebody's going to meet you halfway. I got interviews. I got accepted. Now here's another lesson that hasn't changed much. I am born in California. I love this state. I applied like a fool. I applied to all the California schools just like everybody else, even though I didn't have a snowball's chance at most of them. But luckily, I also applied here, where I did have a snowball's chance. But the first two schools that interviewed and accepted me were actually the University of Minnesota and the University of Washington, Seattle. So what you can learn from this is diversify your portfolio. You are the most important thing in your application, but your strategy has to be at least as good as you are. Now, some of us are not born with strategy. Get some game, because I need you. In order for me, here's the other thing. Even though this whole story wraps around to the end of me standing before you today, once having been in your seat, asking those same questions, in order for you to make it to where I'm standing today, you've got to be on top. You have to be the person. Don't be what you think we want. Be who you are. Show us your commitment to service. Don't just talk about it. Show us evidence of integrity. Show us how you can work with a team. Show us, don't tell us. And I promise you, if you do that, you may not get into every school you apply to, but if you have strategy and you are able to tell your story,